All right, everyone, welcome to week 8. This is sort of the final week in some of these techniques that we've been teaching for the last few weeks to help you really understand where your book is going. What are the tools you're going to use to kind of push forward on some of this writing that we're going to be doing? And remember, it is one of those things that you're going to find just having the right techniques along this journey will help you. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about the 4th technique in our writing techniques that will help you along the way. Now, remember where we are. We're in the middle of the create stories, create content phase. And this is the phase where we're just going to be creating a bunch of raw content, not too particularly worried yet about the structure of our book, about the organization of it, but most importantly, we're going to have it all in one place so that we can look at all this content, and when we organize it, it's going to help us form a manuscript. What's really interesting about turning in and creating a 25,000 word or more first draft is it's a lot easier and a lot faster if you start with a bunch of content, 20,000+ words, and then organize that into a manuscript as opposed to starting from nothing and trying to turn it into a manuscript. That's kind of why we do this technique. Now, we've been talking about this a little bit before, but some of the key tools that we've been using, and we're going to, again, dive into them a little bit more, we've been talking about things like plot writing, which are helping you to tell stories better. About 80% of your book, most likely or more, will be driven by stories. Personal stories, stories from interviews, stories from research that you've done. And so the important thing is you want to learn how to understand the power of plot elements, the power of dialogue, descriptive elements, and depth to become a better storyteller. It will feel probably the most natural, unnatural for most of us, but what you'll see is over time you'll get better at it, and applying those techniques will really help you. We then also started to talk about nugget writing, and nugget writing is that technique that helps us kind of draw these unusual connections out and into your book. We oftentimes will think about our books as a very, very narrow sphere of all the things that are just within it. But remember, things like, they could be way far afoot. Things like, I could pull Chance the Rapper and bagels in and sort of teach someone something by being able to use some of these techniques. So that's kind of why that's important. We talked about this idea of better beginnings, which we'll talk more about today, through hook writing, and lastly, the idea of being more conversational through scribe writing. And all of these are really designed to help us understand how we can wind up becoming a better story writer, a better storyteller, a better writer, and a better author to be able to organize these things having all the tools. Now, what you're going to find is that you are going to use the techniques that work best for you no matter how they are, but you'll pull these things off when you need something to be improved or something's missing in your stories to get better. Today we're going to spend some time talking about hook writing, which is a technique that more and more of us will need to use because most of us have never thought about how we wind up grabbing the reader's attention.